Thank you, Dr. Tim. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Have a wonderful show.
Thanks. So welcome, everybody, to the second hour of Mindshifters Radio. And today is Thursday, September the 21st, 2023. And our call-in number is 563-999-3581. And press 1, and that puts you into queue to talk to us. And we would love to hear your comments and questions because that makes this your show. And when Michael gets on, I will read a response. We had addressed an email yesterday on the show, and I sent the lady notice that we had addressed her email, and she listened to it, and so she has responded. So I'll read her response when Michael gets on. Excuse me for being out of breath. I've been out in the garden and ran in real quick just to grab a bite before the radio show. So been running up the steps, getting my exercise this morning. So while we are waiting, I will just say that we've put a new article out on the website. If you go to whyagain.org and you click on the Healing from the Ground Up, and it is under, I'm clicking at the same time that I'm talking. All right, so you click on Healing, and then Healing from the Ground Up, and then Homegrown Park. And Michael's written a new article, and so it is out there. So you can go out there and read that. If you have any questions, let us know. And for those of you who are connected with me on Facebook, then you probably saw this morning someone, sometime or other, probably in the night, and the garden, that end of the garden where we have some signs, are not visible by our camera on the back of the house, so I have no idea who did it, but somebody came and stole one of our signs that says, in a world where you can be anything, be, B-E-E, kind, and it has a beautiful picture of a bee on it. And someone took it. And it's like, oh, well, on the Facebook I said, I hope you enjoy it, and is that really kind that you stole our sign? But anyway, it is a different world. I hope that they do enjoy that sign. We will just get a replacement for it. And our gardens are doing beautifully, and we are just very thankful. We've planted fall crops, and the flowers are coming up like crazy. They were a little bit late getting started, but they're absolutely beautiful. And there's bees and butterflies and hummingbirds and grasshoppers, and we even saw our first dragonfly last night. And so it's been awesome bringing in all the new critters. Hummingbirds are still going crazy, and I don't know when they stop migrating, but anyway. So Michael's not with us quite yet. Let me refresh my switchboard here. All right. So if you have a question, press 1 and it puts a hand up. We would love to hear from you. Let me check with him and see if he's having difficulties getting on. Are you getting on? All right, he is with us. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you, dear heart, and welcome, everybody. Honored, delighted, and excited that we get to carry on this conversation. I've been deeply appreciative the last couple of days at the questions that have opened up, the dialogue that brings out deeper understandings of the teaching, things that I haven't considered before, that through the brilliant questioning that each person does and presents, those questions are just really deeply appreciated. And so I really enjoyed and appreciated the conversation with Doug the other day. And Julia, the work you did was just awesome. What it opened for me. Personally, I feel like with what we've been doing the last couple of days, it kind of brought me to a new space, a new level of connectedness and vitality and aliveness. So I'm excited about being here. And so, Ms. Jeannie, do we have anybody in the phone queue with a hand up or anything happening in the chat room?
No to both of those, but I do have a response. You know, we had read this lady's email, and you had addressed
Yes.
it. And so I had sent her a note. She's actually been listening to the show each day, but she responded, and she said,
Sweet.
Hi, Jean. Yeah, she says, Hi, Jeannie. I was able to listen and am very thankful for the advice. I will set aside time for the mind shifter soon. I asked two of my sisters who I think were there at the time, but neither recall the event. Another sister, I'm blessed with 4 older sisters, wasn't there, but she was called to come and pick me up from my mom's to calm me down and take me home to my dad. She said that she asked them what happened, but doesn't recall the response. She said, you broke her, quote unquote. What a thing to put on a child that she broke her mom. My mother had and still struggles with severe depression and anxiety. All I can remember is her yelling, and I wanted to escape. Family fights were commonplace at the time, though I'm not sure why this one event was so different. And really interesting part about Michael's insight regarding the woman who had been beaten by her alcoholic father and his subsequent advice about, and Michael's subsequent advice about not drinking. My dad was an alcoholic. He spanked occasionally, but didn't otherwise physically abuse us. He passed in 2019 with multiple forms of dementia. I recently stopped drinking myself, but had only been having 1 or 2 drinks a week at most, but even that came to seem like it was too much. I've already seen great help with doing the worksheets on this event, and I am excited to see where the additional work will take me. Thanks again, Kimberly.
Powerful. And Kimberly, we're breathing with you. I hear you loud and clear. I actually just finished doing some processing with a cousin that I reconnected with, just about a year ago, from childhood, someone that I recalled when I was about 5 interacting with, just very vague recall, and she disappeared. And she actually lived with my grandmother, and her father and mother came into the picture, and there was a lot of violence, and at that point she disappeared from my world. And so I identify, I hear you loud and clear, and my offering would be that from what you've said, listening to your words, the reason why this particular event was so different from any other, that you were handed, at least as I understood, this is the first time I've heard Jeannie read that. I hadn't seen the letter. But as I understood it, the message from your sister, older sister, who would be an authority, very likely, was that you broke your mother. And, the first thought disorder, you may look at, and it may be that your older sister is your power person. And remember, a power person is someone who has more power over your life than you do, that isn't functioning as love, and you perceive it as survival. From what you're describing of those circumstances, it was dire enough that your older sister had to come and get you. And that would very likely be the survival aspect. It may not, survival in the power person dynamic is not necessarily about physical survival. It can be psychological. It can be an emotional survival. It can be the survival of the self. And so, if I understood the letter correctly, that your sister fed you quite truly and quite literally the thought disorder that you were responsible for your mother's condition, then that type of misperception and that type of behavior, blame, you might look at one of the end products of a power person dynamic is that under stress will do the behavior of that power person. And so you might look at, from what I'm gathering, your sister was in blame, and you might look at how blame has impacted your life. If under stress, if that's what your mind defaults to rather than responsibility, defaults to blame, then in the future, you do some worksheets around that blame idea and around that situation with your sister. Once a power person dynamic is instilled in the mind, it remains there, impacting behavior through what we call in our Laws of Living course the automatic decision system. It becomes a decision in the mind that when the circumstances are right, simply arises and takes over. And the thing that determines, there are only 3 behaviors possible in response to an interaction in our lives if there's a power person dynamic instilled in our minds. And those 3 behaviors relate to the level of stress we're under. And my take, and as far as I know, there's nowhere in the world that this principle has ever been expressed before, that it's been understood so that we can work through it. And the 3 behaviors are dependent upon the level of stress that we are under. Remember that stress comes from setting goals. Somebody can be in a situation that seems like, there's not really much going on, but they've got 1,000 goals in their mind and they're overstressed, and you say the wrong word to them, and bingo, they just fly off the handle. Because their power person flew off the handle, and the level of stress they're under inside of their own minds causes that level of behavior to kick in. So the 3 behaviors possible once a power person dynamic is kicked in are: 1, when there's no stress, the automatic decision system will kick in and cause us to do, even sometimes against our own will and choice, whatever it is we did to get along with our power person. Then when stress starts to build, we'll do whatever we did to resist and survive with our power person. And when we become ultra-stressed, we'll do whatever our power person did to us that we hated the most. So chances are, if I understood correctly, and if that's became a power person dynamic for you, then the default setting for your mind under stress very likely would be to step into blame. Very likely self-blame and or blame of others. And so if that's true, that would be your next forgiveness work. That'd be the next piece of work to do. And very likely, with it being that impactful a situation, you would, this would probably be your 77 times 70 worksheet issue. When they said to Yeshua, how many of these darn worksheets do we have to do anyway? Is 7 enough? Peter made that request. And the response that came back from Yeshua toward Peter was, no, you may do, and the Greeks translate it as 77 times 7, but in Aramaic, as I understand it, it's 77 times 70. You add a 0 to a number scripturally, or a 0 to a number, that's infinity. And 0 is the number of completion. 7 is the number of completion. So 77 times 70, you'll do an infinite amount of work around any given issue until you're complete with it. And so there may be many worksheets to do in this arena in order to free yourself of the thought disorders of your power person and to heal the emotional trauma from that event. So that would be my input on the direction to go. Ms. Jeannie, do you have any other thoughts in that regard?
No, that sounds awesome. And I'm not sure if Susan's hand's left over from Dr. Tim's, but her hand's up, so I'm going to turn her microphone on and we will see. Hi, Susan.
Hey. Hi. Hi, you guys. Can you hear me?
You're loud and clear, but if you could just give me 1 second here. I have one other thought, and that is that if you're out there listening and you have the opportunity to call in, and if you want any more, if you have any more details to add or any conversation to be had, I'd be glad to take that whole power person dynamic to another level with your specific situation. And so, welcome.
Hey.
How are you?
I did. I'm fine. Tim and I had both a flu shot and a COVID shot yesterday, so he seems to be okay, a little achy. And I seem to be okay, but a little more achy than he is. Tired, headache.
Ouch.
Every bone. You know how it is. My naturopath woman says, don't get those, and don't get the shingle shot either. It's an onslaught to your immune system. But here we are, 3 of us in the house, and Michael downstairs says he wants to get them too. When and if he goes to work again, he'll be among a lot of people. So I thought in the age range we are, it's probably a good idea to do this, even though I hear the other side loud and clear. My wonderful naturopath says this is a bit much for the immune system, and I can feel that it is, but I seem to be okay. So,
and your immune system is processing through it. Would be my take.
Yep. Oh, that's nice. That's a good word. Yeah. Well, there's a lot of processing going on around here. Otherwise, I'm going to go back upstairs where I was. I'm just getting something hot to drink, tea. Yeah. Yeah, Dr. Tim was terrific. He has as you do, he has a way of zeroing in on the crux of an issue. Our Michael here has become more and more of a challenge because he has a bad back. He's now got a toothache, and he has terrible teeth problems. Of course, doesn't want to go to the dentist because he has no money to pay for it. Tim Bingham would pay for it. But it's hard for us because we don't want to meddle too much. He's got a mind of his own, but he's very, very much in isolation now, spending all day down in the basement, coming up to walk his little dog and going back down. And of course, I have a lot of, fears, like we're going to be taking care of an invalid, whatever motivation he had. He has no car now. He needs us to take him places, but he's not really even going places. So I've been processing my lack of control and my lack of friendly feelings toward him, which crop up powerfully. And I'm choosing to be kind and holding a space of love, but my interior is in disrepair and needs work. So Dr. Tim suggested writing out all of the things my unbridled, angry, childish self would like to say to Michael. And I can already see how destructive it would be if those things came out. He doesn't need that. But there's a lot of fear, too, because his helplessness that's my interpretation of him, which means I'm afraid of helplessness, too, and all that stuff. So, there's a lot of processing to do.
Well, it's a perfect place for a mind shifter.
All right, I'm getting out my stuff.
Would you like? We have a mind shifter for that.
What one don't you have one for? I think you've got one for everything. All right, I'm ready.
It's safe and healing, comma.
Mm-hmm.
Appreciated.
Mm-hmm.
Comma, approved of.
Mm-hmm.
And accepted by. Tim, your husband, accepted by Tim, comma, myself, comma, and Michael.
Yes.
When I speak up and share every thought That goes through my mind.
Oh, God, Michael. Oh.
Breathing.
Every thought I have, is that what you said? I mean, that comes to mind.
That goes through my mind.
All right.
And what comes to mind as I say that, the intuitive hit I get, what comes to mind is, and this may or may not be accurate, I just throw it out and see if it fits, but it was almost like I got a visual of you as a small child being very disapproved of for expressing.
Yeah, that fits.
So this may be the space to heal this response to disapproval, the pain of having to withhold. How long have you felt in your life like, you're 35 or 36 now, so for 35 years have you been withholding and holding things back, and maybe it's time to let the floodgates open and to heal the idea that you'll be disapproved of for just speaking your truth. Are you breathing?
Well, yeah, no, as a matter of fact, I'm not. I am now. You're not suggesting that I go out and do that. You're just having it put on paper. Because certainly if I did that in real life, it would be terrible. Terrible. It would be terrible.
That's the first thing you put down on the right side of the page.
Okay.
So notice that you have, and you don't just have a terrible in there. You got a triple terrible on this one. Telling the truth is triple terrible. That's what you want to put on the right side of the page. Guess what? Telling the truth is safe and healing, always. The faster the truth is told, faster the healing happens. So that's going to be a perfect mind shifter for you to work with. And when you're finished, you may just decide to say, I want to sit down, Tim, with you and Michael, and I've got some things I want to share. And, I think it would be, I can certainly see a space where sitting down with Michael and saying, gee, Michael, you don't have a car now, and your teeth you're having a problem with, a problem with your back. And I have a fear that you're going to be an invalid and I'm going to have to take care of you. I can see that as being a very constructive thing to open the space for, Tim's there. I suspect that some of the withhold that you do is withheld perhaps because of Tim. I might be in error for that. But in any event, to put that out on the table, and, I could see the upshot of that rather than being, oh, you terrible woman, look how evil, how terrible you are. I could easily see, Michael going, I can see why you'd be concerned about that, and, maybe it's time for me to look at least what community resources might be there so that if I do get into a deeper state of non-functionality, I have an alternative for support. There's a state system, or there's a city system, or there's a town or a township or a county system that could support me. I could see that being the upshot of the conversation and being a construct for everybody, because I suspect from what you've told me that he's very likely sitting down there right now going, oh my God, what's going to happen if I get sicker, and is she going to throw me out, and no, where I could see it leading to a constructive conversation about, let's look at what resources are out there, and we'll certainly hold the space for you to get healthy and able to do the things around here that fulfill our exchange, and you're happy and we're happy, and you get healthier. And there's a support system that we've put in place in case it goes sideways. I can see that being a very constructive upshot of sharing the truth instead of it being terrible.
Mm-hmm. You have broached the subject of assisted housing. We've got his name in a place. It's a 1.5 year wait or more. They're very backed up and unresponsive. And then he'll say things like, I'm afraid they won't give me a first floor room and I'll have to use the stairs and I can't because of my equipment and the dog and the carriage for the dog, and I need to be on the first floor, and there are conditions, and so he's practically telling us he's not going to accept that anyway. We've been kind of touching on some of this stuff over a period of time,
right.
And he'll usually escalate right to, "Guys, you want me out of here." So
well, and that
then
could be, that sounds like one of his fears. He's obviously probably many times been put out in some way, shape, or form, either in his own mind or actually by others. And so that can be a space of, wait a minute, Michael, I want us to have a fair exchange, and we've discussed that. And so this is not about putting you out. This is about making reasonable, sensible plans for everybody involved, for you and for us.
Mm-hmm.
So that might be a space for reassurance for him.
Mm-hmm.
And he may not be accepting of that, but that won't be your responsibility if he's not accepting of that.
Yeah, well, I know I'm pushing. I'm like in resistance because we've had some conversations along those lines, and there is a kind of helplessness, victim person that emerges. And if I can stay in my adult, and if Tim Bingham is there too, Tim doesn't really think about this because I'm thinking about it. I think he figures I'm kind of a buffer between Michael and him. I've said this before, and he has admitted it, that he doesn't have to think about it because I'm thinking about it. But,
right.
That makes sense, and I'm afraid. I even feel afraid of bringing that up.
Okay, so that's the next thing that goes on the right side of the page of the mind shifter.
Okay.
And there's your next worksheet. Maybe it's time for you to become, I can just see it now, the bright lights on Broadway. I can see it now. Let's see, how exactly would it be worded? Susan Bingham, totally confident, fear-free woman. A child of God. I can see the light in the lights now.
Nice.
So my take is, there's your next worksheet, is to let go of this fear. Because that's something you're bringing to this party.
Yeah.
Now, he's probably got his fair share of it. And I don't know about Tim Bingham, but he may have his too. But the only reason it's going to come into your mind is because you're bringing it from inside of you. And if you delete it, if you forgive it, then you don't have to bring that to the party. You can have the conversation in full confidence that this is just going to produce a wondrous outcome. There may be some challenges to handle. There may be some things to deal with. There may be rage or fear or grief on the part of any one of the three of us, or maybe all three of us. But that's what I'm here to do, is to process that and to heal. So let's go for it. And the fact that, one of the things I really admire about you is, rather than just talk about something, like, you're ready to be supported and to go for the healing. And, I've always admired that about you. When you call into the show, your conversations about the work you're ready to do. And that's awesome. And we're here to support you in doing that. Like, I hold the space that you become a person that's just so connected to confidence that fear just doesn't enter your mind no matter what.
That would be wonderful.
Well, you know how you do that?
How?
You know how you arrive at that? You forgive your fear. Remember, forgiveness means removal.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean letting somebody else off the hook. It means that you own take responsibility for and remove it. So, what if you were totally and completely, physiologically, psychologically, and emotionally incapable of producing an energy called fear? It's just a fear-free being. What if that were the truth about you? How different would your life be?
It would be very different.
Then let's go for it, girl. Breathing with you on that one.
Yeah, my mind is divided right in two. One side fighting the other already. So that's the double.
Yeah. So self-expression is safe and healing. That might be another good mind shifter, just a simple one. Self-expression is safe and healing. And with it, you earn acceptance.
I'm writing that down. Because I'm arguing with that one. With it, I get acceptance. No, I don't. Okay, good. That's another one.
And that's your past. But it doesn't have to be, because it's your past and what you bring to the party, doesn't mean it has to be your future.
Right.
I got that that's been your experience. I got that there's some pretty heavy-duty times with it. But it doesn't have to be the future just because it was the past.
Yeah,
and there is no future in the past.
Right.
Go ahead.
I just jumped. You just made me realize I jumped to an extreme. There's a big middle ground of reasonable discourse and support and a lot of wiggle room in there. I picture escalating from hiding it all from anybody, including myself, to going out and standing in the yard and roaring the ugliest thoughts I've ever had. So
right.
A big middle ground there. Got to get hold of that.
Yeah, there's room for communication and reasonableness and care and concern and the presence of love between people, and it's safe to process those things. And the first step to doing that is ownership of it. I was working with someone the other day, and I kind of got a new way for me of explaining denial. And, I've always described it as the act of thinking or speaking as though something outside of me is the cause of what's moving inside of me. And I think that goes a certain distance with people. But as I was working with this person, another level kind of came in as a way to explain it, and that is that, when I was a child, there was an issue, a situation that happened, and I went into this, let's say in this case we're talking about fear. I went into this fear, and I walked away from it, totally engrossed in the fear and thinking about who I was blaming for it. And then there came a time, I was 5 then. And then when I was 15, I had an interaction with someone and I came away with fear. I didn't stop and say to myself, I have fear. Maybe I have something to heal. What I did was I thought about that person that I was blaming for it and how they, made me fearful and blah, blah, blah. And then when I was 20, I had an event with someone and fear came up in me and I walked away from that, and I walked away never thinking about myself but thinking about them and how what they did to me and how they made me so fearful. And then at 25 and then at 30 and on goes the game. What if I changed that whole dynamic and went, I'm not in fear because of the situation. I need to stop and think about myself. Not talk about them, not talk about the circumstance, not talk about the people involved, but focus on and talk about me. Here I am in fear again. And I'm ready to own my fear and dissolve my fear. And I can't do that until I start to, in the middle of my muddle, whether my muddle is rage, I'm angry at you. Why am I angry at you? Because you did this. No, I'm angry apparently at you because I have anger in me. That's why I was angry when I was 4. That's why I was angry when I was 10. That's why I was angry when I was 15 and 20 and 30. And I need to stop this thing of all I do is focus on everybody else and talking about them and start to focus on and talk about me. Now I've got a keyway into resolving whatever it is, fear, sadness, grief, rage, whatever it happens to be. But as long as I'm thinking and speaking about someone else, there's no resolution. It just goes on and on and on. And the power seems to be outside of me.
Yeah.
When the truth is the power is inside of you.
So, Michael, at the very beginning of this, you formed a sentence that I could say to Michael. Michael, I see that with your dental this and your... could you say that sentence again? Can you put it back together?
Sure. I don't know if it'd be exactly the same, but basically looking at, first of all, you could do a review of the responsibility communication tool. So you've got that in your mind. And so for me, the conversation would go something like, Michael, I noticed that you've got more challenges today than you had yesterday or than when you came here. You don't have a car now. Your teeth are bothering you. Your back is bothering you. And you seem to be, maybe going in kind of a downhill direction. And one, I want to support you, but two, I also want to take care of myself. And, if you keep going in the direction you're going in, you're going to be an invalid, and I don't have the wherewithal to take care of an invalid.
Yeah.
That would kind of be my approach. And so what I want to do now, while we still all got the capacity, is I'd like to be looking at and having you look at what resources there might be if things continue to go downhill, because I'm not prepared to, I'm not willing to, I'm not capable of taking care of you that way. So, I have some fear about that, and I'd love any ideas you have to support me in healing my fear around that. And I want to support you in looking at what resources are. If you look at the trend of your life right now, it's not looking good. What can you do about that? I mean, start looking for services, or maybe take some responsibility for your life and do something about it, or whatever direction it goes from there. But to me, that would be an opening, and that it's a warm, friendly, supportive conversation, not one that's done from a mind of fear and, oh, look, you're going to become an invalid. But just, I have concerns, and I think they're reasonable for us to look at and address. So, what do you say we work together and see what we can do about this? For your sake and for mine. I want to see you being taken care of as well as you can possibly be taken care of.
Right.
And that might require some action on your part. And if there's some action that I can take on your part, I'll do that too. But, I'm inviting you into the conversation. You're an important part of this.
The Michael so you are imagining...
Go ahead.
Michael you are imagining I would be speaking to isn't the Michael that we'll be speaking to. I can adjust that as best I can. You're speaking to someone with far more receptivity and resilience, and possibly even intelligence than we have living with here. So, and I know that sounds like resistance, but I wish you could come up here and try to have a conversation.
I can see that that might be very factual. I certainly hear you reciting the absolute facts. And so in that case, part of the conversation can be, and Michael, I'm not sure that, what your capabilities are of receiving this conversation or what to do about it, but I'm here to support and see where we can go with it because I have a concern.
Yeah. And then
if he comes back with, well, okay, you want me to leave? It's like, wait, Michael, that's not what I said. And that we've broached this conversation several times since he's been there about how his instant response is, well, you want me out of here? It's like, Michael, no, you're welcome. We're here for you, and I want to reasonably look forward to the future and make some plans for whatever the possibilities are. The plan I'd really like to make is for how you take some action and you get stronger and healthier and, you jump right up and you are at a whole new level of aliveness. That's the plan I'd like to make, and that's not exactly where the trend is going, so what can we do?
That's all good. Yeah, the emotional collapse comes very early. Tears, just immediate incapacitation. He has PTSD and severe anxiety. He might even have a panic attack. So I'm just telling you, this is what we deal with. And we have been very, very careful around him not to trigger any of that. And maybe that's not so good.
There might be some over-responsibility in that for you. Has over-responsibility ever been an issue in your life? And maybe it's time to let go of over-responsibility and let him take the responsibility for his life, even at his limited capacity.
Yeah. There's one route I would like to mine, and that is that he has an ex-wife right in this neighborhood somewhere. He won't tell me who she is. But maybe I could suggest that we call her in on this. She's probably a perfectly nice person who just was tearing her hair out and didn't want to deal. And the story he tells is one half the story. I'd love to be able to talk to her, but maybe that's a tangent. I don't know. Anyway, thanks for doing this, Michael. Got enough to go on.
You're not the only one who's facing the difficult conversation, so this is for all of us.
Thanks.
Difficult conversations can be difficult, no question about it. And if we soften and let loose of the fear we have about them, the path can be smoothed to making it easier.
Absolutely, and that's what Dr. Tim was talking about in the previous hour. What is it to hold the space of love? It's to allow and expand, breathe, not know, stay out of fear. Anyway, it was lots of things to think about. Because there's a ton of fear about this. And I identify with Michael.
So I'll just throw in, I'll throw in one thought. My offering is there is not one iota of fear about this.
Okay.
There's just fear in your mind.
Yeah.
I mean, you can put it on this, or you can put it on that, or the next thing, or the next, or the last. But there's no fear about this. There's just fear. And you have the capacity to heal the fear in your mind, to forgive and remove the fear. And approach it with the mind of God. Approach it literally with the mind of love instead of the mind of fear. Go back to Scripture. Here's the Creator talking to us. I gave you a mind, a sound mind based in love. But just pointing out, and as you listen to your language, notice the subtle denial. There's a lot of fear about this. No, there's just a lot of fear.
God.
And
Yeah,
it's time
you're right.
to be loosed of this fear. It's probably an old generational dynamic that's gone on in the family system for God only knows how long, pardon me.
Yeah.
Who long might be more appropriate.
Too long, yeah. Definitely.
Like who started this level of fear and trepidation about life?
Oh,
And
yeah.
am I willing to put the pen to the paper and forgive it and come forward with a mind of literally what the ancient teachings talked about is the mind of Christ. I'm going to bring Christ's mind to this conversation.
Well, I always say
can't get better
Jesus
than that.
didn't have a house.
Right, yeah.
He didn't have a house, so he didn't have to have somebody living with him. So he didn't have that problem. This is one of my things that I think, you can't tell me what to do because you never had to do that. Come on. No, I'm just making my excuse.
I hear you.
Yeah. I want to wiggle out of this, but I've got it on paper. Okay.
Perhaps before you approach that conversation with him, you might share a little bit with Tim and ask him if he'll sit with you in a worksheet around that fear. And that, that you're really ready physiologically, psychologically, emotionally to be finished having fear running your life.
How lovely that would be. Yes.
Yeah, I can see it again on Broadway, the bright lights. Susan Bingham, the woman who's always connected to confidence and the mind of love in her, no matter what. And we're all capable of living there. Do we all? Well, I can't proclaim that I have all the time, as much as I'd like to.
Well, thanks, Michael. And Jeannie, the background person who types away and puts everything up before you even suggest it. Correct problems before they manifest.
I'm so blessed. That's an absolute given.
Yeah.
I'm so blessed.
Sorry about your sign. We had a beautiful wind chime on our front porch, and somebody took it. And I know that feeling. It's like, how could they do that? This is like the sound of love hanging off my porch, and this person takes it. And I remember we wrote a sign and put it up in front. Would the brother or sister who thought that might be a nice thing to take away, please bring it back, because we really miss it. And if you don't want to bring it back, I hope you enjoy it.
Well, it was really strange when we realized it was gone and went up, and, I had just little twist ties where I had, tied to a little metal frame. And it was like, it just boggles my mind that somebody had to stop their car, or maybe it was somebody out walking their dog. I don't know. We have people go by once in a while walking the dogs and went, I think I'll undo those twist ties and take that sign. It's like, what is the sign about kindness? You're going to steal a sign about being kind? Well, how kind is that? But anyway,
I know.
I hope it goes somewhere where
bad,
it has a good impact. I actually thought about, I think maybe I'll order a half a dozen of them and just have them here so if they disappear, we can pass them out.
Oh, my God. Oh,
it was the cutest garden sign. Had a great, beautiful picture of a nice, bright yellow bee. It says, of all things you can be kind.
Yeah. Bee.
Yeah.
Brother. Isn't it ironic?
Who has more fun than humans, or should I say non-humans?
Yeah.
All right, young lady. Well, any other thoughts for you?
Nope. I don't have any thoughts.
All right. Well, we appreciate you and
Mike.
cherish you, and give Tim a big hug for us. And Michael, too.
Thanks.
All right.
Oh,
Blessings.
yeah. Okay. Thanks.
All righty. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
And we do have two other hands up.
Let's rock and roll.
Hey, the first one is 828. Is this Magda? We haven't heard from you in a while.
Hi there. Yes, it is Magda.
Welcome. Hey, young lady.
Thank you. I know that there's another caller waiting, so I will just say my little suggestion and maybe get some feedback from you. I've gone through numerous different conversations with people that my mind told me might be very difficult to do, and one thing I've learned is to reassure the person readily, often during the conversation, because you get to know a person and you realize, okay, if I say this, he or she is going to jump to the conclusion that what I mean is that, because
Right.
we've had that experience before, right? So with Michael, I'm thinking, because he is well known for saying, so you want me to be out of here, right? It might be very advantageous to start out with the first sentence saying, you know, Michael, we want to talk to you, and we are not saying we want you to get out of here. And to, in fact, say that often, at least during the first part, to help him perhaps be more steady and solid about the conversation, rather than have his fears ignited and have his regular.
Right.
You think?
Yeah, we could even go to Michael. You know how delighted we are that you're here.
Hey, yeah.
Yeah. I'll hold the space for that.
Yeah, I like it. Right. Okay, so.
Well, we like and appreciate you.
And the same goes back to you guys, for sure.
Accepted.
So, wonderful. Let's hear what the other caller has to say.
All right, young lady, you have a blessed one. Appreciate you.
And blessings to you all. Bye now.
All right, Miss Gina, we've got another hand. Let's say hello.
Yeah, we do. I believe this one is Miss Celinda, 541. You're on the air, lady.
Hello, Celinda. Are you on mute? Are you mute challenged? I know how the mute challenge goes. I do it myself every once in a while, but
and it's really strange. Her number is on here twice, but her hand is up on one of them and not the other one. Let me click the other microphone.
Let me try the other one. Yeah,
that's doing. Celinda,
now,
are you with me?
She might have had to call back in.
Can you hear me?
I heard her voice. She's with us loud and clear. You must have had to call back in, and it's still connected in the other line.
Oh, I'll call back in.
No, you're good. You're good. Hey, we got it.
You hear me now. Okay.
You're
perfect.
loud and clear. You're loud and clear. Welcome.
Yay.
Did you have to call back in?
No. I just unmuted myself again, and then Jeannie switched numbers, so that somehow we.
So how do you be, young lady?
I'm doing well. I'm having a very large challenge, just like Susan, but not like Susan.
How can we support you? What's the essence of the question?
I'm unwilling to put it on the air. At this point, and I'll wrestle with it some more, and I may never put it on the air, but I do need support.
Okay.
So we'll see where
Can we do it in general terms without getting into specifics, so we've got some sense of where you're going with it?
No, because I very often share with my family and stuff, and I just there's certain this is the situation. I'll hang out for a private second. But anyway, I wanted to tell you that. If you didn't hear Dr. Tim's show and Susan's conversation with him, that I mentioned when I got on at the end that I feel like I am a pea in Susan's pod, or she's a pea in my pod, one of the two, because we seem to be leapfrogging over each other in our own personal journeys towards healing. I did want to share.
We are all in this together.
aren't we? And
for sure.
I do my best to give up gurus the minute I notice that I'm trying to turn them into one, and because I realized a long time ago that we all have clay feet, so let's don't get too serious about this.
Absolutely, every one of us. Yeah. Don't look too closely at my life.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Don't let me hear. Don't let me see. I'm not willing. And I think a lot of those aging processes where we go deaf and we go blind is because we are just following our decision process that we put in charge a long time ago and have been in charge our whole lives. And at some point, the physical deterioration from all of that negative energy is so great that we fall off the cliff in that.
Just a reflection. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll cancel that cliff
idea,
I just wanted to stand safe.
With you that I'm sure I'm going through multiple healing crises here, but the good news and the good news, let me include that, and the good news is that I am more regular than I've ever been in my life, and I am so absolutely amazed that I don't know what to do about it. It's not something I like to talk about, but I think it's significant in relation to healing
work.
That
is significant. Elimination is a reflection of letting go.
Yeah,
so that's awesome.
Has been that poem that I will eventually get to you and let you know so you can download it if you're interested, is a reflection, as I mentioned, of the 7 chakras, and very much was helped by Carolyn Mace's work on the anatomy of spirit and her morning and evening meditation. Also, I am working and have been for a couple of years of hatching or gestating 12 meridian, actually the 14 with the two reservoirs, a whole setup about how each organ, and it's not really the organ, but like the liver meridian, has to do with change, alchemy, which is spirit working in us, the holy breath, and us in cooperation and transformation. And so I offer that up, maybe in infinity if I don't get to it. It's probably because I want it perfect, right? Go figure. So anyway,
so how can we support you?
Share that. Well, you can support me by who you are and what your purpose is, definitely. And you supported me because I am now ready to do my worksheets. And I'm about ready to trot down. Well, I have done them, but, very sporadically. And now I'm doing them. And I'm trotting down today, I hope, to get, because I only have 2 left, of Magda's short form. And I think I'll get the short form of your wake-up sheet, the latest one, the short form and the latest one, and I'll start working on them.
Fabulous.
So I just thank you. The support happens all the time.
Fabulous. Well, if there's a point.
I was laughing. Pardon?
I was going to say, if there's a point where you've got a worksheet that, is not intimate with family that you'd want to restrict, that you want support with, you're welcome to call in and we'll walk through it and give you feedback.
Sure.
Oftentimes, just the feedback can be really useful to open perspectives. So.
Well, it's hard for me. Today I happen to be cutting up a chicken, but it's hard to me to stay on the show for 2 hours. Really difficult. So Dr. Tim has been supporting me a lot with languaging and clarification. And when I can get on, and when I can get on and I have a worksheet that I want to pass by you, sometimes I I'm directed to pass it by you and Jeannie, and sometimes I'm directed to pass it by Dr. Tim. So that's what we're doing.
Wherever it fits.
That's right. Oh, and I must say that I laugh more on these shows as I identify with the different people who call in, and with you and Jeannie and
Sweet.
Dr. Tim. Then I have
Awesome.
So joy is in the future.
All right.
Step by step, and that's all. Thank you.
All right, young lady. Well, we hold the space, and delighted you're keying in. You know, we had a lady that did this work for about 15 years. She'd been to 2 or 3 intensives at Heartland, and she would not do a worksheet. And she invited us. She lives in Fort Lauderdale. She invited us to stay with her. We were doing a workshop. She came to the workshop and still didn't do a worksheet. And about 2 months later, she wrote to me and said, I'm doing these worksheets for the first time in 15 years, and the worksheets become my best friend, my favorite tool. She would do mind shifters, she used the other tools, but she wouldn't touch the worksheet in those early years, and it became her best friend. So I'll hold the space that perhaps becomes your best friend. And everybody, thanks for joining us. Have the best year yet of your eternal life. It's an awesome gift to give the world.